In this video, I go on a cycle tour of Muckross Lake in Killarney, County Kerry. Join me as I visit some lakeside beaches, semi-submerged caves, lone trees, the meeting of the waters, and finish up with some fabulous reflections. It's about a 7k loop around the lake until you hit the main road, the N71 back to Killarney on the other side. And I suppose there's not much really happening until about 1.5 kilometres. There's a little beach, and that's going to be my first stop for my first compositions. Now, if you do like woodland photography, as you can see, there's lots of opportunities for mossy rocks and green and all that, but we are in the middle of the winter now, so I'm going to make my first stop at this little lake down here. Now you'll know the area from the little roadway because there's a kind of a green patch, whereas all the rest of it tends to be bushes and bog and all of that. There's a green patch and there's a little seat here, and from there then there's a little pathway that leads down to the actual beach itself. Now, depending on recent rain, there's either going to be a large beach there or a very small one. So here's the little lakeside beach. As you can see, there's possibly opportunities for long exposures with some of these rocks going into the water. And we have a bit of driftwood here. And then the mountains in the background. Lots of rocks over there. So I'll take a few minutes to have a look around and see if I can find a composition, and I'll come back to you then. So here's my composition. As you can see, I found just a small piece of driftwood. Now it's very small. When you see it in comparison to the camera, it's not much bigger than the tripod. In fact, it's probably smaller than the tripod. But what I'm attempting to do is, I have a wide angle lens on it. It's a 10-20, and as you can see, I've got the tripod really low, and the combination of having a wide angle lens really close to the subject when everything else is off in the distance is probably going to make this driftwood look a lot bigger than it actually is. So that's my goal for this one. And once again, as you can see here, what I'm trying to do is move the camera so that the driftwood is placed in the line between the mountains coming down on the left hand side and the cliff edge here on the right hand side. So it's kind of in the junction there, and that's just a compositional decision, because I think it looks better where you have the line coming down, if you want to call it a leading line, coming down from the mountain on that side, the cliff edge on that side, and the driftwood in the middle. And once again, I'm going to use an 8-second shutter speed, or 6 seconds, whatever I can get out of a 6-stop filter, in order to just smooth the water over and put all the emphasis on the driftwood. Well, as you saw from the video, the lighting conditions were starting to get very harsh by the time I took this shot, and when I looked at it in colour, it wasn't great, so I converted it to black and white. Now, it's still not a great image, but it looks better in black and white. So look, it's the first one to start today. Not a great image, but it gets us up and running. So just as I was packing up after the driftwood, I just saw this rock here that's kind of, it's more vertical than the others. Whether it was placed there or whether that's just the naturally lie of the rock, I'm not sure. But when I came over then for a shot, what I've noticed is that the line of rocks here all lead to that lowest point out there between the mountain and the cliff that I've been speaking about earlier. And I said, look, I'll come over and get one more before I leave here. And you know what, it looks all right. And that's definitely it. Right, back to the bike. I think this one looks a little bit better than the first one. It's still not a great image, but there's more going on in it, and I think the composition is better. Again, I had to convert to black and white because it just didn't work in colour. So hopefully, look, we'll pick up some more as we go along the way. So again, as you can see, it's quite a nice little beach here as well. I'm just eyeing up, there's a lot of driftwood around. Perhaps that might be moved to make a nice bit of foreground, you never know. Now, although the water is quite low here, it's nothing like it was during the summer. When I was here during the summer, you could walk straight across in a line now to that little island that's out there. And that's where the little caves are. But I do notice there's a causeway just at the far end of this beach, and I might be able to walk out along it and get into those caves, depending or not whether they're full of water or not. But I'll try anyway, because that'd be a nice composition if we could do it. Because the water is quite low, you can see along here, this is all normally submerged. But I can get access. The only thing I don't know is whether or not there is water inside the caves or not. But we'll know in a couple of seconds. Now luckily I have the wellies. I'm okay. Now during the summer this was all just dry sand and gravel. Now there is a lot of water still in there, but I think I might be able to get in and get a photograph. Oh, definitely worth it, I think. Yeah, it's full of water, but maybe a nice long exposure and maybe even a bracketed shot so that I can get that mountain in there without being blown out. So I think definitely this is worth a shot. So, and you know what? Couldn't be a better place with the harsh light because I'm in out of it. So this will be my next plan. Right, so I've made it inside the little cave, or just about made it anyway, and I suppose there's what 15-30 centimeters of water, 6 inches or a foot or so throughout it, but there's lovely texture in here, as you saw from my last photograph there, up on the rocks themselves. And once again, I think the wide angle lens at 10 mils really emphasizes the size of the place, because as you can see, I'm barely in here. I'm sitting down, my head is nearly on the roof, so it's quite small, but the photographs themselves, when you get them back and process them, it makes it look like, you know, you're in a big underground cave somewhere, like you're potholing and all of that. So what I'm doing is I'm shooting towards the mountain in the background, and there's no way I can take one exposure for it because the mountain is just blown out, and if I expose for the mountain itself, well, it's going to be pitch dark in the cave. So I'll do 2 or 3 exposures and see how I get on. Now I have the polarizer on because there's a huge glare coming across the water from outside, but I don't even know if the polarizer will be enough because it's such a glare. I've moved it around a couple of times to different positions and that, but no matter what I do, it's still, that's about the best place there. So look, I'm at 10mm, I'm at f14, and what am I getting at that? I'm getting 2.5 seconds without the 6-stop filter. So we'll have a go with that and see how it looks. So here we go, a blend of 2 images, one for inside the cave and one for the light from the outside. And this, I don't know why, it just doesn't work. It almost looks fake. It looks as if the water, the colour blue on the water is fake. It's not. That's what I got from blending the images. But it just doesn't work. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but it doesn't work here. So at this stage, what I'm attempting to do, believe it or not, is a panorama from inside the cave. Because it's so small, I can't get wide enough, not even with a 10mm, to take everything in. So I'm going to try vertically to sweep across the entire cave itself. Now, because then I won't be able to, balance highlights and shadows, etc. as I move. What I'm going to do is, on each shot, I'm going to bracket it for at least 3. So hopefully in post-processing then I'll be able to merge them together. I think Lightroom calls it a panorama HDR, so that the whole lot will come into it. So here we go. First, okay. So as you can hear there, maybe the camera is shooting 3 shots at each stop there. And hopefully I'll be able to merge them together, because I didn't expect I'd get in here at all today. So it's a good opportunity if I can just get in. What's really helping me at the moment is what I have on is a little geared head, and it just allows you to move in those increments really smoothly. So I'm not counting all these. I'd say it must be about 7 different positions at this stage, with 3 shots at each. So it'll be interesting if Lightroom is able to put all this together. In fairness, clap on the back for it if it is. Now this could be all warped and everything when it comes out, but look, I'm in here. It's worth a go. So that's about 10 shots sweeping from left to right all the way across, and at each stop I took 3 different shots to try and balance the highlights and shadows. So it'll be interesting to see how it turns out. Well, thankfully this one worked out a lot better. So this is a blend of 30 shots, 10 different movements with the camera, and 3 bracketed shots at each. And Lightroom handled it well and stitched it all together, so much happier with this one. So I've finally come out of my cave after about 45 minutes. I really enjoyed it in there. It's very different. And thankfully the light has subsided a bit. That harsh sunlight has gone. So the cave is here on my left, or your right, as you're looking at it. And just outside it, there's these 2, I don't know, they're odd-shaped stones. They're fairly flat, but they're leaning off at an angle. So I've just come over to the right of them so I can get separation, because if I was over there, one is just in front of the other, etc. So now I have one on either side of the frame and the mountains in the background, and the clouds are really strong. So I put back on the 6-stop filter again to smooth the water, and it's as simple as that. I'm focusing on the near one here, and I think I'm getting, what am I getting? I'm getting about 6 seconds out of that. Here we go. Yeah, 5 seconds. 5-second exposure. And going back to my black and whites again, the colours were really muted, and it was a little hazy when I went to process the image, and I think that the black and white just works much better in this one. Not a brilliant shot, but you know what, it's okay. I like the general composition. and there's a nice dramatic sky in it as well. So look, all in all, it's not too bad. Okay, at this stage we've come to the little bridge in the middle of it. Now, down on this side, there's some lovely pine trees, and you know, I've been down there before, and you would think you're able to get a shot there, but I've never been lucky enough. Now, maybe I might be able to go down on the opposite bank and get a shot from there, because as you can see with the light on the mountains in the background, they look really great there. If we go over to the other side, then you have that lone pine tree sitting on the edge of the land there, and maybe if that could be isolated with a long lens, that might make for a photograph as well, but there's no way to get down so that you're looking up at it as such. I'll see if there's any way that I can actually get down there and try a shot at that pine tree rather than from up here. So I've just come down off of the bridge, down the little bank beside it. I think I have a much better angle here on that lone tree. I'm shooting it in vertical, and I very seldom shoot in vertical, but I want to cut out everything else. Now I will take some in horizontal as well. Again, I've already taken a short exposure, and now I'm just going to take a longer one. I don't think there's any wind here, so it should work out at about 5 or 6 seconds, and we see how it goes from there. So it worked much better, as you can see, getting down to the level of the lake, and there was a little pathway beside the bridge that I was able to wander down. Look, it's no portfolio shot, but it's a nice shot. It's pleasant. I like it. I like the reflection of the clouds and the tree in the water itself, and I think the 5 seconds works well. So I'm just up behind Dinny's cottage, the little cafe. Unfortunately it wasn't open, so no coffee and scone for me today. This is known as the Meeting of the Waters, and the shot from here really is that little bridge in the distance, twin arch bridge, and then you have the mountain in the background. And there's a nice bit of light on that mountain, and again the yellow colour of the dead grasses kind of help it as well. And then on either side, this side you have some pine trees with the mountain coming down, and there's lots of tall trees on the right hand side. Now, being 1st of March, a lot of them there's no leaves on anything, but the branches themselves are quite interesting. Now, there was a lovely reflection here a few minutes ago until one of the boat tours drove up through it, and it hasn't come back since. So I'll take a few short shutter speeds just to try and get the best out of that reflection. I'm starting off wide, taking in the whole vista, and then I'll zoom in onto the bridge itself. If you can see about halfway up the river from here, there are some rocks in that coming out. It's like a little weir, so I'll use that as a foreground when I tighten it in, and the bridge then as the main subject with the mountain in the background. So I'll just start off with a couple of wide ones first. So this wide angle shot doesn't really work at all, but I said I'd show it anyway, just because there's a lesson in it, I suppose, for us all, in that it's the time of year. It's not a shot from there because the trees are so bare. They look very scrawny and washed out. And I suppose the other problem with it, looking at it now, is it's difficult to discern exactly what the subject is, that the bridge is so far away. But look, there's nothing lost. If we don't fail, well then we'll never move on to succeed. So, not to worry. So I have the 16 to 80 lens on, which gives me a nice zoom. So I'm just trying to get the best composition. I could go right in, but then I'm missing out on some of the trees, so I'll try just one from there. Okay, and that looks really well as well. It really, zooming in, compresses the mountain, brings it in that little bit closer. Certainly a bit better than the wide angle attempt, and you can see the scale as the mountain is compressed in behind the bridge. But still, look, the trees are just too bare, so enough said, it didn't really work. Now, just because these two shots didn't really work out, I wouldn't give up on this location. Here's one from the middle of the summer, a couple of years ago at sunset. And you can see the difference with the leaves on the trees, the nice bit of colour behind it. And you have those rocks in the foreground with the bridge, etc. So, look, choose your time of the year. It really seems summertime, leaves on the trees, essential. I think we can move on. I mean, this is the shot from there, and there's nothing else. So really I've only one more location, and we're going to have to park up the bike and go for a hike for 500-600 meters and take a few shots from there. We're actually going to end up on that bridge and get down behind it, etc. And from that bridge as well, there's a lone tree that goes out the far side, and you have the mountains in the background. But we have to go all the way around to the left to actually get there. So come out of Denny's cottage, turn right, and after about 150 metres you'll come to this boardwalk. Now this is relatively new, but it saves a lot of muck and makes it that easier to walk with. So we're going to follow this over, and we'll end up after about 400 metres on the bridge that we were just taking some photographs of, and we'll be able to get down on either side of the banks as well. But there's also a shot, as I was saying earlier, from the bridge itself. Now it is kind of rough terrain, and I wouldn't recommend it if you're not great on the legs. I wouldn't recommend this trek. You can see how rough it is there. Lots of roots and stones and boulders and all that, but it's not dangerous or anything. You're not going to fall off a cliff edge, but it is a bit rough. And here we are. So if you look to your right, you'll almost see the pier in the distance. There's a couple of people up there now, where I was taking the photographs from earlier down onto this bridge. So this is what you see on the opposite side of the bridge, and in my opinion this is the image. I don't see much if you were shooting back towards the little pier that we were just on. Now, as you can see today, all those little rocks here along on, I suppose, the sidewalk of the river, they're all covered in green. And I've often been here and they've been completely submerged, and the water comes right up to the base of that little tree there. But the green on the rocks looks well here today, especially with the yellow on the grasses in the distance there, the yellow on the mountains. And then you have this lovely deep green on the pine tree just on the left of the frame. So there's definitely a photograph here, and I'm going to get into it right now. So here's the end result. Again, a little washed out, I suppose, and a bit bare given that it's winter. So look, the message is definitely don't come here in winter, go for spring, summer, autumn. But I think this will make a lovely scene in any of those other seasons. And that's it really. That's the only shot from the bridge itself. As I say, I don't think there's anything worthwhile shooting back in the opposite direction towards the pier. But what I think we will do now is we'll just take a quick walk down along here, and we'll see how we get on. I'm not sure if we'll get a shot, but listen, we'll finish out today for the last one and see how we go. So I've just come down to a little jetty, which is about 100 metres from the bridge we were shooting at. Now it's a pity that you can't really see the bridge because it would be a nice shot from here. But you can see that there's some fabulous reflections in the water of all the different trees, the rocks, the grasses, the whole lot. So look, I think while I'm here, I'll try one shot of those before I finish up. Bit of a surprise finish for me to the day. I wasn't expecting this, I will admit, when I walked down from the bridge. And again, I suppose there's another lesson for me in it, you know, to keep investigating all these little tracks and all these little different routes and offshoots, because sometimes, you know, the shot just comes up when it's most unexpected. So happy enough with this one. So that's it from me, from my little photographic cycle tour around Muckross Lake. I've come to the end of the cycle track now. It's about 7 kilometres. Unfortunately, it doesn't loop back around, so I'm left with no choice now only to go back the N71, which can be a little busy at times. The cycle track is basically one way, so I can't double back on myself. So look, we've got to some of the main locations. There's probably hundreds of others that I haven't covered. And they're way beyond the scope of a 20-minute YouTube video. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please leave a like or comment below. It helps YouTube to spread around the video that little bit more. If you're new here, think about subscribing and you'll be notified of my next video. So until next time, thank you all very much, stay safe and bye for now.